Today we're talking about SNDL and they sell the green bean.
That's right. That's what we're calling it, the green bean, everybody.
The green bean, folks, for the YouTube algorithm out there. Before we go any further, let's just take a look at the chart to see where we're at. We had a massive run up here at the beginning of February, and that was clearly like Wall Street bets, manipulation. Market cap is $1.63 billion, but this is a relatively new company. And you can see when they came out, they were at $13. I mean, this was a nice IPO.
Didn't they also dilute all shareholders massively, and that's another reason to dump?
And yes, they did massively dilute their shareholders. They needed to do that to keep the company afloat. This here, November 2020, I think our low was 13 cents. So last year, you could have picked this stock up at 13 cents. This was one of our meme stocks last year when basically you could have put money in any four letters in the stock market and be making money. And we've been sitting here around 60 something cent. And you can see that that was a previous level of support back in May 2021. And when it touched that, I mean, it just rocketed up to $1.45 and came back down. But when it came back down, it started trading at it around this price. You can also see that this was a previous level of resistance. So we did a video on it. If you haven't seen it, we'll put a card up in the corner. They're at a $1.632 billion market cap. And as we said in our last video, when you talk to people about stocks to invest in this space, this is a stock that frequently comes up. ACB, they are considered the leader in this space.
So I want to make this clear, guys. We're going to use tickers because we cannot say the words that we need to say because the YouTube algorithm will kick us out. We're calling it the green bean, and that's what we're talking about here.
It's the green bean, it's ACB, it's SNDL. The supposed leader in this space would be Aurora, ACB, and they're currently at $7.89, and their market cap is actually less. So they recently had their earnings. Sundial said on Thursday that its recent acquisition of Inner Spirit Holdings, a green bean retail chain with nearly 90 stores across multiple provinces, pushed its net revenue to $14.4 million in the latest quarter, a 57% jump over the previous period. So they beat their earnings per share by a penny. In October, they acquired Alcanna. Alcanna is one of the most successful liquor retail chains in all of Canada. And now they're going to be able to sell their products directly to customers. Now, because they acquired it in October, it's still going to take probably a quarter or two to see the actual revenue. SNDL is pleased to announce today that it has entered into an arrangement agreement with Alcanna Inc., pursuant to which SNDL will acquire all of the issued and outstanding common shares of Alcanna by way of a statutory plan of arrangement for total consideration of approximately $346 million in shares. With over 25 years experience in retailing regulated products, Alcanna is Canada's largest private happy juice retailer, operating in 171 locations, predominantly in Alberta, under its three retail brands. Alcanna's strategic partner, in which it holds an approximately 63% equity interest, Nova, is one of Canada's largest green bean retailers, offering a wide range of high-quality green bean products at value prices. 171 stores from a direct acquisition, which that company itself also has access to 62 other stores with three different brands.
It's smart. I didn't do a lot of research about SNDL. You did it, but I can see that they're thinking the long game. The long game is to control the whole stack and not let somebody determine their destiny. So that I actually like that. Yeah.
That's a really smart move. And again, if you're someone that believes that we're going to see federal legalization soon, or whether it's soon or a year from now, they're positioned to go.
If you're going to buy in a Happy Juice store, why not get some green bean?
Why not? Why not? When you're done with the Happy Juice, you get some green bean. Your weekends are pretty good.
No, but it totally makes sense.
Before we go any further, I want you to take a look at, because I've been to the Planet 13 shops. This is what the place looks like when you're there. It is an absolutely gorgeous facility. This is the B&H of this industry. It is so beautiful. I just can't say enough good things about the design, the layout of it. It's super professional. But if you look at Alcanna stores, it's looking pretty nice.
Oh, no, this is good to know, because I was picturing a small store, but these are big stores, right?
This is on par with a Planet 13. Yes, me too. I was thinking like the local 7-Eleven that maybe has an area, or like a chain like that. But when I go and I research this company, this is like a really nice store.
How much do they have on their books in terms of cash and stock, or at least liquid right now, that they can afford this sort of transaction? If they're doing $346 million in stock, like you said, aren't they diluting the shareholders even further?
They've diluted their shares to stay in business. And that is one of the things that has, first of all, has kept institutions away from buying them, right? And also, when you dilute your shares, that is a red flag to the short sellers that there's blood in the water. So as soon as you start to dilute your shares, they know the stock's going down. So what happens? They pile on and start to short the stock, which is why it became a meme stock. and it was trending on, Wall Street Bets, and it was trending on StockTwits. So it was sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They needed to do this to stay afloat, but in doing so, they made themselves vulnerable, and then they went into meme territory. But the point is, what they reported now are fundamental changes in their business. This is not just technicals. And when you report fundamental changes in your business, that is something that really scares the short sellers. Now they're reporting earnings. This is when you start to smell possible short squeeze. 98% of the available shares to be shorted have already been purchased, meaning the short sellers only have about 2% worth of the shares that they could actually even buy. They're 27% shorted right now. 2 days ago, it was actually like number 6 trending on Reddit. It was up like 12% in that day because we saw it go from 67 to 78, and it was trending on Reddit. And so then all of the negative and the FUD and the articles came out, and just trying to just quiet the news, don't cover it, blah, blah, blah. Look at these calls and these puts. You've got 226,000 call options expiring November 19th at $1 strike price. Contracts for November 26th, we've got 15,000 that have been trading, and that's for calls at $1. And the puts, not many. January 2021.
Well, yeah, year out. That's or
call
even
options, 11,000. A lot more call options on this for January 2021 than put options. A short squeeze could happen if they continue to report.
Yes.
If they continue to report good news, and keep in mind too, the next quarter
that I
is
agree,
the first quarter that we're going to see the effect of the retail.
Whoever's shorting, the buckets of money they're pouring in to just keep the stock lower.
496 million short-term investments, 2.4 trading assets. They're sitting on 593 million total cash and ST investments, accounts receivable, total receivable 12.
Well, there's your cash on their book right there, around 500 million.
Total liability and equity is 1.148 billion. Total assets 1.148 billion. Okay. So even if we're talking about their total assets, this is a company with a $1.6 billion market cap that has $1.14 billion in assets. How many companies do you know that have almost the equivalent to their market cap as cash on hand?
The price to sales at 25. Ooh, 25 is not great, dude.
This is not counting the revenue that they're going to generate from 171 new stores plus the 62 that they have.
Yeah. So hopefully that price to sales drops. Maybe in half even, so it becomes a little bit more reasonable, but still 12, even 12 is kind of high.
What investors are looking for is how much revenue are you making? Are you growing? Are you continuing to grow? Are you continuing to expand? Do you have a lot more headroom that I'm going to be able to jump in and enjoy? And again, because it's not federally legal, that's still a door that needs to be open. And once that's open, then everything's on a level playing field. And from then on, I think something like price of sales or like earnings.
Well, right now, the whole industry is being kept down until it's legal across the board. Actually, but Canada, is it legal in Canada? It is legal there, right?
It is, but they don't have access to like the biggest market across the border. They don't really have access to us yet. All this money that they're making is in Canada.
So SNDL does not sell anything here yet, or do they?
I haven't found any information that says that they're selling anything here.
Okay, so they still have to come here. So that's a whole new market they have to enter. Okay.
And it just so happens to be the largest market, and it's literally just right across the border. December 4th, 2020. This is Representative Tulsi Gabbard.
This is a historic moment that so many here and across the country have been working towards, to take this step to end America's destructive and costly war on drugs that has turned everyday Americans into criminals and torn families apart, ruining so many people's lives. This legislation removes from the Controlled Substances Act and frees states to regulate it as they choose, and encourages research into the medicinal qualities of this plant that we already know are changing people's lives and saving people's lives. It also applies retroactively, expunging prior convictions and records, freeing a generation of people from the shackles of this failed war on drugs. The bottom line is this vote is about freedom. It's about freedom of choice for every American to make their own decisions for themselves without fear of the government coming and arresting them. I urge my colleagues to support this bill. The Senate should pass it quickly so we can send it to the president for his signature.
So that was Tulsi Gabbard on the floor of the Senate on December 4th. People were really excited about the new administration. Some of the people on the ballot, or especially on the lower ballots, were running on this, that this is something that they were going to push to go and make it legalized. But recently in the news, a House Republican from South Carolina wants to decriminalize, the green bean. A Republican, it's so hard, man.
You know what? I hope Google is not scanning the images
Right, and then they just flag you for green bean. A Republican from South Carolina wants to decriminalize the green bean at the federal level.
Well, yesterday, a couple of headlines caught my eye. In USA Today, a headline read, Republican-backed bill would federally decriminalize. Republican from New York's Southern Tier running against Rep. John Katko supports a public health insurance option. Now, these headlines, along with our interview with Republican candidate for New York Mayor Curtis Sliwa, who supported universal basic income, confirms what many of us have long suspected, that the voting bases of the Democratic and Republican parties are in fact flipping. And the flip within the Republican Party is causing the party itself to adopt new policies. Now, let's start off with Republicans wanting to decriminalize. On Monday, Representative Nance Mace of South Carolina introduced legislation to decriminalize and hand power back to the states. This wouldn't make legal nationwide. It would just allow the states to decide on their own without federal restrictions. But for a Republican to introduce this with a half a dozen other GOP reps co-sponsoring the legislation is mind-boggling. This just seems like something Democrats would be pursuing.
This legislation, I believe, has something good for everyone, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Now, look, politics aside, this could just be a play to appeal to the other side. Republicans know that this is a popular issue among progressives and Democrats, so this could totally be horse crap. But Republican House Representative Nancy Mace introduced the States Reform Act on Monday. It aims to legalize the green bean at federal level, including releasing and expunging nonviolent offenses for approximately 2,600 people in federal custody. States would not be required to change their current green bean laws. Okay, so you can go into it. Maybe we'll link to the article, but you can see that this is something that is gaining support on both sides of the aisle, and they're actively pushing for this. America is changing. The green bean tells the story. Nowhere is the green bean's promise greater or the change it could forge as impactful than in social equity, criminal justice, job creation, and economic development. This is a massive industry with implications across multiple things. It does have criminal justice implications. But there's also medicinal purposes to this that are just currently locked. So this has a potential of opening up a lot of opportunity in various sectors.
Yeah, plus taxes. I just don't understand the whole thing.
Actually, you bring up a good point. I remember, I might be wrong on the statistics, but the first state to legalize it on the state level was Colorado. That year, they generated something like $110 million in new taxes, and they used that money for road repair. So that all of that money went directly to infrastructure. So it's like right now, you know, if you live in New York City, the infrastructure there is crumbling. Anyone driving on the West Side Highway, driving on the, you know, the roads are crumbling, and people say, well, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? People are already buying this product. And if you just take away the stigma and get these people out of the shadows, tax it like you did with cigarettes, like you do with alcohol, make the money on it, I think the people will be okay, especially if you do put this into a fund that is going to turn around and help the community.
I still think it's years and years away, honestly.
This legalization thing, this is very much like the loan for FUV. There is a giant catalyst that only goes one way or the other. It's a binary thing. It's black or white. If it happens, it's great. If it doesn't, it's bad. But
well, I would say it's definitely going to happen. I just don't know the timing of that to happen.
Especially now, since this was typically a Democratic progressive issue, and now Republicans are coming around to it, this is going to come to a head at the next election. I'll tell you this, if Republicans are running really hard on this, the current administration is going to get ahead of it and just legalize it.
Maybe.
To take that away.
Take it away from them, right? Old man Biden's going to be like, what's this green bean you keep talking about?
He's like, let's just give him the green bean.
Everybody gets a green bean in that.
Right. Come on, man. Just give him the green bean. This is going to happen. And I think it's going to happen as a preemptive strike, especially now if Republicans are adopting this. And this is something that Biden can do with a pen. He can do this with a pen. And he also politically will not take any backlash because you're just giving power to the states. So it's a complete win-win. Former meme stock SNDL climbs on a share repurchase plan. So after they reported their earnings, shares of Canadian green bean firm SNDL climbed as much as 30% on Friday. The Calgary-based company announced a revenue jump related to its recently acquired chain of green bean shops, as well as plans to repurchase up to $100 million in outstanding stock. So this is a company that diluted their shareholders for a while to keep their business afloat, and now they're actually giving back. They're going to give back those investors some of the value that they took away in order to keep the business afloat.
That is a good sign. Usually you don't do that if you do it for two reasons. One is you think the stock is too cheap, which maybe it is. And number two, you can afford it. Yeah.
In a separate release on Thursday, SNDL said its board has approved a new share repurchase program to buy up to $100 million in outstanding common shares. The one-year program will begin November 19th. SNDL said it could purchase a maximum of 102.8 million shares, representing about 5% of the issued and outstanding float. Chief Executive Officer Zachary George on Friday addressed investor concerns about the stock being delisted from the Nasdaq exchange due to its persistently low share price, as well as potential stock consolidation. The Nasdaq has discretion to provide an additional extension beyond the February 7th deadline. Therefore, it has not foregone conclusion that we'll somehow need to reverse split shares prior to February 7th, even if our shares continue to trade below $1.
This is very risky, honestly. Like if that happens, then oh boy.
If you ask yourself, or if I ask myself, are there more positive catalysts for this stock than negative? I have to say yes. I have to say right now that there are more positive things on the horizon for the stock than negative.
I would be worried. I would be very worried. In fact, I would wait till February 7th if they get it over $1, if they're trying to do that. I think that's why they're repurchasing stock, from what you're telling me, to push the price up over $1.
And they might do a reverse split. Look, again, we're talking about a company that has a higher market cap than what people are considering the industry leader. So this is a mathematics thing, okay? There is more money in this company than there is in ACB. So I hear what you're saying, but this is about just having to do some creative mathematics here to get the share price where it needs to be.
I want everybody watching this that I'm doing a purely technical analysis on SNDL, not actually knowing the whole history except what Carlos just told me.
But it's also at that level where technicals matter at this level. The technicals really matter at this level.
Right. So I think it does matter. And some of the things you told me, sound very bearish. If they don't get their stock price up soon, by February 7th, they could be delisted back to OTC, which just means a lot of people don't want to hold OTC stocks at all. Look, I do.
And no institutions will touch it.
If you look at the log charts, and I did a weekly, you can see that they are been since day one, since the 2019, they've been in, obviously this is tanked, but look where it's touching. It's touched 1, 2, 3 points. So we might be going lower. This is not looking like a chart that's ready to go up, basically. Look, it can. I don't know enough about the stock, but it's touched it and it's failed right here. So we're coming up to a point soon, and I did the support line at 46 cents. So it crashed through here, it broke through, and you can see the support that happened here. I see no reason why I can't go back to 46 cents. And if that happens, oh boy, that's in 2022.
I mean, I can't see how we don't have the answers to some of the other potential catalyst
questions. Well, this is why I'm saying it's risky. This is why I'm saying that it's not a sure bet here.
Absolutely, absolutely. But any stock at this price point is risky. We know this, but we also know that this is where you can have the potential for some really, really good gains. And so again, if you are interested in investing in this, you cannot make this your main position. You're not going to sleep well at night if this is your main position. But if this is a spec play, especially at this price, and you throw a couple of grand into it and you're picking up shares at 67 cents. But I will come back at that chart with this chart.
Oh, bam. Charts fighting charts now.
Charts fired. Charts fired.
I see your chart and I raise your chart.
I raise your chart. This is more recent. This is after coronavirus. This is after stimulus. And this was the trend that it was trading in for a long time. I mean, this is basically where it was going for a long time. But look at what happened. The breakout here was pretty strong. It held this level and broke out again. So I see what you're saying, that the overall trend for the stock,
long-term trend
is down. Yeah. But what I'm seeing here is a clear breakout, and it seems to be holding at this 69-cent level.
Yeah, but don't you see the problem? Even if it's holding there, even 70 cents, it has to be over $1 or they're going to be delisted.
But we don't know. We don't know what the impact is going to be of the stock buyback.
Well, they said 5% of the shares are going off, so expect a bump up 5%.
But if it happens and builds a certain momentum,
it
then
can go
the
higher.
Stock can get back. How to avoid getting delisted from the Nasdaq?
Step 1.
Step 1, make money. Step 2, repeat step 1.
This is actually funny, right? Make money. Don't lose money.
Nasdaq's current continued listing rules require a minimum bid price of $1. If a stock's bid price closes below $1 for a period of 30 consecutive business days, it is considered deficient and will receive notification from Nasdaq. The company then has 180 days from notification to regain compliance by maintaining a $1 closing bid price for a minimum of 10 consecutive business days during the 180-day compliance period. So what they need to do is bring the stock price over $1 for 10 consecutive days.
Right.
And if they do that and go to 99 cents, a new 180-day, they'll get a warning, and then another 180 days.
So SNDL management, you got to pump the stock for 10 days over $1, and then you could tank it again.
But again, it's not financial advice.
Having said that, if someone put a couple of grand in as a whatever, I don't care what happens to it, as their YOLO bet, it can work out for you in 5-10 years. Honestly, we don't know, because if
in 5-10 years, I think no one believes that we won't have reached legality on a federal
Right.
level.
So I believe
and-
that, but then SNDL has to survive that whole period. So
Right.
that's the second part of it. So I believe the legality issue will be resolved within 5 years, whatever it is, 2 years, 3 years, doesn't matter. Let's say within 5. Now SNDL has to survive. And honestly, maybe they will on the OTC market until they can get back into Nasdaq.
They're making money. They're making money and they're profitable. And from what it looks like with their recent acquisitions and stock buybacks, they've got money to burn. It's not a matter of whether they're going to continue to be profitable. They're going to survive. It's just a matter of whether or not they're going to be on the Nasdaq or whether they'll get delisted. But just like we found out with Hertz, you can get delisted and you can come back. Look at Hertz. Hertz came
absolutely.
back monster, and they were a penny stock. Now that was a really that was a unique situation. But these things do happen. And at the end of the day, they're in a much better position than Hertz. They're not claiming bankruptcy. They're not bankrupt. They're just
So what you're saying, I agree with you. The only thing new investors who are looking at this have to accept that this might tank in the short term. You might get delisted. And if you're okay with that and you're okay with saying, I'm going to hold this for years, doesn't matter, then I agree with your point. But I know a lot of people who watch this channel and who are just fly-by-night investors, they're not okay with that. And they think they are. As soon as it happens, they sell out at a big loss.
They acquired a company that gives them access to 90 stores. But as we saw, Alcanna has 171 stores. So it's almost double the amount of stores that they're currently in right now. And the 90 stores jumped their revenue 57%. So just 90 stores jumped their revenue 57% jump over the previous quarter. I can't see how they're going to make less money, is what I'm saying.
There's a flywheel that can happen. I agree with you there.
Exactly.
It's just these short-term hiccups that I would be worried about, like them getting delisted. They're still under $1. That would make me stay out of the trade, basically.
What this company has proven is that they can make money. They've made some recent acquisitions that are proving to be very successful for them. They're increasing their revenue. Remember, they were at a net loss last year, and now they're in the positive. Right. They also are getting to buy back their stock. That's really bullish in the sense that they have the money to burn. The negative side of that is maybe they're just doing that because they need to get the stock price and not be delisted. They have a high short interest. Something needs to give. We don't know.
The good news is I don't think if you're on the OTC, you can be shorted. So that's the good news.
Always look at the bright side. No, there's no options chain.
So yeah, I think
there's no options.
Those guys have to go away because they totally kicked.
They kicked them out. But
they kicked them
the
out
bad
of the
part, right? But the bad part of that is the bad part of that is that they wouldn't have access to institutions which do need to come in at some point. At some
and
point,
less money. They'll have access to less money to raise capital. And, yes. You know what? I think you've converted me. I'm gonna short this tomorrow.
This guy's gonna go be one of those put on. Well, there you go. If you want Vitaly to lose money, hit like, hit subscribe, and buy SNDL. It's not financial advice.
I'm getting SNDL off this market. Guys, if you like this, a lighthearted episode too, please like and subscribe and hit that bell. And we'll see you in the next one.
Hit that bell. Yeah, boys.